manager Jefferson. RJ, welcome to the show. It's great to have you back.
I bumped into RJ yesterday in Soho.
Yeah.
A little shopping.
Yeah. Mind my own business.
And what happened? This guy.
He just came up. Just wanted to say hello.
Ran up on you.
Made my day.
Yeah, what up?
Made my
what
day.
up, bro? He's like, man, I'm on your show tomorrow. I haven't seen the official rundown.
He's like, really? Are you? Are you? I don't find that out till tomorrow. And I was like, well, I'll see you tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Let's talk some Houston Rockets. Remember when the Rockets took the Warriors to 7 games in the conference finals last year? Seems like a long time ago for the team now in 10th place in the West. Last night, though, James Harden carried his team to victory, dropped 47 on the Jazz. Chris Paul was singing Harden's praises after the game. Take a listen.
And I say it all the time, the best offensive player I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Like, seriously, like this, you know, he can drive, he can shoot, he got ball handling, so it's gonna be a tough night for you, whoever it is. I don't care what you do.
RJ, I'm sure you've got some great James Harden stories for us. If you've gone up against him for a number of years, how hard is this guy to defend when you're really in the thick of it?
What's crazy is that Chris Paul is a little bit inaccurate with his statement about the greatest offensive player.
Course.
But in today's rules and the way the game is played today, he is one of the more unguardable players we've probably seen. And you know, that's kind of the frustration with the way Houston has played this year, is that they're grossly underachieving. But with the foul calls, the pick and rolls, the no hand touch, his strength, his size, his ability to shoot, drive, finish, create free throw, as an offensive package in today's game, he is one of the more unguardable players.
And he is on the short list of the best isolation players the league's ever seen. That's unquestionable. Now, what is also true is that his style is to take advantage of, and I don't say this with any negativity, to take advantage of every edge he can get with the rule book and to exploit it, because he is an exceptional free throw shooter, and he gets to the free throw line at the rate of a Hall of Fame big man as a wing player, right? Yeah. If you look at his free throw rate, that's not an exaggeration. He gets to the line like an old school center does. And the concern for the Rockets, aside from the struggles this year, is that it doesn't translate always to the calls he's going to get in the postseason, which is one of the reasons why, despite the Rockets' success in the postseason last year, he's never been the exact same guy in the playoffs as in the regular season, because he's not getting all of those calls that he lives on in the regular season.
Well, the problem is that the regular season, you have more time. In the regular season, it's just things move so much faster. You're going team by team by team.
You don't have the breakdown. You don't have the strategy. You don't isolate their top 5 plays the way you do in the playoffs, and the intensity and the defense, the referees change.
Right.
So how you prepare and everything is totally different.
So you have the best referees in those moments, but also you have in a 7-game series, it's like, hey, I'm not reaching in on silly fouls. So you got to understand you're playing against the best defensive teams and the best defensive players when you get to the playoffs. So that also means the smarter defensive players. And so if you take, let's say, 30% of his free throws away, right? All of a sudden, he becomes a little bit more normal. But again, with today's rules and his ability to shoot, pass, shoot threes off the dribble, shoot threes off the dribble from deep, so you have to get up on him, very similar to Steph Curry. Like, once he crosses half court, he is a threat, right? There's only about maybe him, KD, Steph. There's only, like, once they cross half court, they are immediately a threat. And I think with the way their team has been constructed in the past, that's where it always looked good. But you're talking about the playoffs. They're worried about the regular season right now. It's not about translating to the postseason. It's like, we need this ability to translate to the regular season. And in the last 4 games, it has. Their offensive numbers have picked up. His offensive numbers have picked up. But that's what you need. He was second in the MVP voting, I believe, twice, won the MVP. And now he's playing like an MVP again. But it's like, hey, James, if your team is going to be successful under the construction that they are right now, you have to put up these numbers 8 nights out of 10.
How far off are they? How much has to happen for them to even get back to remotely resembling the team that we saw last year?
I don't think they're going to get to the team that we saw last year. I think that, you know, you start to look at chemistry and losing Luke Mabute, and you start losing Trevor Ariza. You just look at their overall kind of chemistry seems a bit off. So I don't know if they're going to get to the team, but can they get to the playoffs and be a team that could upset someone? Yes. I just don't think this is a team that everyone was like, hey, they have an opportunity.
Yeah, they can't get there because offensively they're not as efficient. Harden is putting up unbelievable individual numbers, but a lot of time, watch the highlights. Watch how many dribbles. Watch how many seconds he's got the ball. And now in this new NBA, if you look at the teams the most efficient, these are teams that are moving the basketball. So yes, Harden is a great isolation player, but when you start to get into how I'm going to get in the playoffs, how does he get those other teammates involved? So his numbers are spectacular, but it's hard to get into a flow when someone who dribbles as much as Harden is dribbling to get to be as efficient as he's been.
But that part is the exact same as it was last year. We talked during the playoffs that they were. Mike D'Antoni laughed about it, said we're going to do what we do. In the Warriors-Rockets series, you had a team that led the NBA in passes against a team that was dead last in passes. Like, the Rockets were always isolation. You're right, the Mbamute, Ariza appear to be big losses, particularly defensively. But the other big difference is Eric Gordon is shooting 29% from three. He was critical for them last year as their third best offensive player. We've talked about it, but Chris Paul has not looked anything like Chris Paul this season. They are drawing dead to make any impact in the playoffs unless Chris Paul gets back to the level he was at last year by the postseason.
And one more point. Everyone's been looking kind of at James Harden because Chris Paul is towards the end. He's in the latter third of his career. Eric Gordon has always been a very good role player that can contribute. But James Harden, you are the MVP in the prime of your career. We needed to see these numbers sooner. And if you see these numbers sooner, they probably wouldn't be in the hole that they're in right now. But Chris Paul, correct. I feel like Chris Paul, now that James is starting to get back to that level, Chris Paul is the one guy that you're like, okay, Chris, it's time. It's time for you to pick it up.
Because Harden, for whatever the slow start was, now his averages on the season are 32 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists. Like, he is having a spectacular individual statistical season. To me, it's the guys around him, and the defense has fallen off dramatically. I think a lot of that, we don't talk about Clint Capella a lot. He got a big contract this offseason. They expected him to continue to grow. We haven't seen that to the degree. One quick question for you on this. If you were talking to someone who was playing the Rockets in a series, what would your advice on how to guard Harden be?
Ooh, multiple defenders, pick them up past half court. Obviously, there's certain things that you can train in practice, keeping your hands up, keeping your hands out. I would probably be more up at the level than they ever have and force Clint Capella to make passes and kick it out because they're not shooting the ball well. And if that's my opportunity to slow them down is to make other people shoot, other players shoot, that's your best chance against them.
I would trap him.
Yeah.
I would trap him in the playoffs, in the series, trap him, make the ball get out of his hand because offensively, they're not going to be as efficient. And he does not play well without the ball. So Chris Paul talked about, he's the best offensive player. There's more than just shooting and dribbling and shooting free throws offensively. He's not very, very good without the ball. He can't play off the ball. He can't play above the rim. And he's not great in overall transition. He's only great in that last third of the court because he can't play above the rim.
Yeah.
He's the worst.
He's the worst. Never liked the guy to tell you the
truth. Stick around. Will the Lakers acquire Anthony Davis this summer? That's next on First Things First.
Yeah, they